Over the last couple episodes of Budgeting Ammo, we've been diving into the topic of making our ammunition work for us. And that's involved quite a few different aspects, and we've dove into different gear and weapons and different ways to train effectively, creating a battle strategy for the range so that you're training well. Today on our episode of Budgeting Ammo, we're going to be talking about tracking your performance, which is an extremely important aspect of your journey into firearm proficiency. I'm going to be talking with my buddy Paul, aka Black Iron Gunner, if you are on Instagram or YouTube. We're going to be diving into this topic in depth and hopefully providing you guys with some valuable information. Let's dive into it. As you guys have been seeing in our latest episodes of Budgeting Ammo, you know we've been taking you guys on the journey of figuring out in this crazy time coming out of the 2020 year, going into 2021 with the ammo availability issues and the price increases. We're trying to do our best to help you guys out with information. And we recognize I'm not a professional. I don't know everything about the economics of the ammo. I can't tell you when ammo is coming back or anything like that. But we do have some tools at our disposal, and I felt like a series like this was just something that's important for us to do at TA Targets and pull some other people like my buddy Paul here who might be able to give you a different insight than what I have, or maybe kind of echo some of the things that we've been talking about. And at the beginning, we just kind of introduced this series by saying, hey, there's a situation where ammunition isn't like it was back in 2018, 2019. I mean, I don't know, Paul, we've talked about it in the past. We kind of remember the Instagram videos have changed a lot with ammo availability. We've had cowboy style shooting and just plinking in the past, but
the days of shooting 1,000 rounds at a range day is over.
Oh yeah.
Maybe even 500.
Yeah, well, we show up at the range with a bag. I mean, I told you, I brought about 1,000 rounds of 5.56 for this week of shooting, and this has been a 3 or 4 day shoot with a bunch of different videos you guys will see. I brought only 1,000 rounds of 5.56, and we have machine guns and stuff ripping, and we're doing drills, night vision shooting, and that's only 1,000 rounds for 3 different shooters. So that's a totally different dynamic than what it was back in, I don't know, 2018, 2019. But one of the things I want to ask you, and what I want to do before I do that is just kind of intro you guys to Paul and let you know where you can find him. So Paul has a cool page on Instagram, Black Iron Gunner, also has a YouTube channel. So if you guys are interested in seeing some more stuff from him, or if you know about him, show some love and support over there, follow him and subscribe on those pages. But
Thanks.
What I wanted to ask you is how this ammo situation has kind of changed what you're doing personally.
Yeah, so it's kind of changed in 2 different ways. One, personally, and then 2, from my business standpoint, Black Iron Performance, being able to get as many students out to courses. So I've kind of really slowed down this year with as many courses, and I've busted down some round count, which I've seen a lot of other companies do. So instead of doing a 500 round day, it might be a 350 round day.
Yeah.
500 used to kind of be the standard. 500 rounds was pretty standard in the training industry per day.
Yep.
And now you're looking at 250 to 350. And then you obviously still have the upper echelons of instructors that are filling out classes still, within 2-3 days that are still doing the 750 round counts. But then as far as on my personal side, the training has slowed down, unfortunately. It is, I can't afford to shoot 500 rounds a week like I used to. I used to go to the range once a week, and I used to bring about 300 rounds of 9 and 200 rounds of rifle, or vice versa, or just 500, and I was shooting 500 rounds there for probably about a good year and a half, and I saw tremendous growth.
Yeah.
So right now, all I'm doing is trying to basically split it up between some dry fire, and then obviously when I do hit the range, I'm just really focusing, and I'm glad we're doing this video because that gives us some things that we can talk about.
Yeah,
and what, personally what I do and what you do, just on the planning aspect and whatnot.
Yeah, and on the topic of training, the first class that I ever took in West Virginia, first rifle class I ever took, their requirement was something like 2,400 rounds.
Oh my gosh.
Now
How many days?
it was 4 days, I think, 4 or 5 days.
14.
So now we didn't shoot all that.
It's about 600 a day.
But think about that. That class was full and that was around 2016, 2017, that ballpark. It was right at the beginning of TA Targets. So TA Target starts, obviously I want to get into the gun industry, and that's kind of when I always say I started taking shooting serious. It really was just plinking, and we'll get into that. But as we progressed with TA Targets, and in the last 2 years, that's when I've made more of a conscious effort to say, this is important. I need to invest in this skill set and try to build fundamentals. And I'm very early on that journey, I feel like personally, but have learned a couple things as far as how we can implement that. And that's what this whole topic of this particular video is about, is how can we get to the range with purpose? And that means, how do we go to the range with some sort of a mission or a goal or an objective? Because if we don't have that, my argument would be we're plinking. And I don't know if you would kind of agree with that.
I would. I like to base it kind of off of, like, I'm not an exercise guy, but let's just say a guy goes to the gym or a girl goes to the gym, they work out, they decide to just go in there. Hey, they're still getting a workout. They're still doing something.
Yep.
But can they maximize their time by planning ahead and then saying, I'm going to work this set, this set, this set for this many reps? Same thing kind of on the range, just having somewhat of a plan. You're going to maximize your performance, and as well, you're going to save a little bit of money, or at least make your dollar go farther for your skill set.
If nothing else, from a fiscal standpoint, from a financial standpoint, we're in an era that's crazy. I've never seen, I mean, maybe in the 2010, 12 areas, you know, around that ballpark, I remember ammo going nuts, but I don't think it went to the level that it did, because we had record numbers of new gun owners, we had riots and all kinds of crazy stuff. People were getting scared and trying to prepare. The unfortunate reality is, and I was on this journey as well, they buy a gun, put it in the safe, and say, I'm good. And that's how I was with firearms for a long time, until we started really focusing this in. So with that topic of trackability, we don't want to just go out and plink. I'm not bashing plinking. If you like to go with your buddies and hang out and shoot beer cans off a post or something, cool. That's awesome. This is America. We're free to do the things that we find enjoyable. But if we try to take it from a hobby to something that we're saying, I want to be an asset to my family, now we've got to start thinking differently. Do you have a couple different ways, or would you have any suggestions from your experience for people as far as tracking, creating a plan?
Yeah, so when I saw the best growth in my shooting was about 2 years ago. And what I was doing was planning ahead. All right. Not only was I planning ahead, I was packing ahead of time.
Yep.
I wasn't just going like, I'm going to go to the range today and start packing.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to the range tomorrow morning. I started packing the night before, and I had a checklist of everything that I had in my bag, just because you don't want to get out there and forget something. That is what it is. If you do, it's not the end of the world. Eye Pro, Ear Pro, gun, ammo, closed-toe shoes, you're probably going to be all right. You can get it done. But as far as the planning, what I used to do is I used to just grab some printer paper, or literally any paper you had, and I would almost draw out the range that I was shooting on. It was pretty much the same range every time. And I would literally put, you know, at that time I was shooting TA steel, and I would put, you know, I would draw, I'm a terrible artist. It was awful. It was a line with like a little circle colored in.
Yeah.
But that was my steel target. And I would basically put, you know, on this piece of paper, steel target here, 2 paper targets here at 25 yards, steel target at 50 yards, come up from the low ready, 1 round on steel, 2 on paper, speed reload or bolt lock reload, 2 on paper, 1 on steel. Then what I would do is I would take it to the range, I would set it up, and I would run it 3 times, and 3 times only. All right, the reason I ran it 3 times only is just because I don't want to get so familiar with the drill and so familiar with where that target is. I'm standing in the same spot. I'm doing the same thing. I would run it 3 times, and I would write down on that drill, or excuse me, on that piece of paper, my time and my hits total. So let's say I missed steel 1, I would put -1 steel, 2 paper, maybe 1 alpha, 1 Charlie, 2 alpha, with a total time of 4.21. All right, I would do it 3 times. After that, I'd go to the next sheet. Yeah. And vice versa. So I kind of had something, a baseline to go off of. And like I said, I didn't go to the range and I didn't have to think, well, let me just put a piece of steel here. You know, I don't like that. I just put a target out. I knew everything where it needed to go, and then I got to work.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because that's when I've seen the most growth in every aspect of my life, not just shooting. If that's your finances, if that's your goals in life, if that's a business or something you're doing, all of this is applicable in all those areas. And that's why it's so powerful when you put it in to your shooting because you're going to see the benefit. And the thing that I really like about writing it down, I cannot stress that enough, is I have a notebook and it just looks like that. It's just a simple black notebook, nothing fancy. I have probably 6 to 12 of these things over the years. And it's a mix of shooting, it's a mix of my thoughts and things like that, but I can reference what I've done. And that's what I really like about writing things down. This is simply about growth. If you don't have data on a paper, or maybe you have a photographic memory, I don't. I can't just remember stuff. If you don't, and you're like me or Paul, and you find value in writing it down, writing that down is going to give you something to say. Okay, I did that drill at 4.21. And maybe next week you're doing other drills, but you come back to that drill in 2 weeks and say, okay, we knew it was 4.21, I had these hits, had these misses, run it cold, see what that looks like.
Well, at the end of the day, too, don't just throw that piece of paper when you're done away with it.
Exactly.
Stuff it in a folder. Go get yourself a 99-cent folder, plastic folder with duct tape, like the, vanilla folder. Is that what they call manila or vanilla?
See, everybody,
Sheesh!
everybody says
Vanilla folder, no top.
I think it's manila.
No cap, vanilla folder.
No cap, manila. You know what's funny right now is John's gonna put a beep or some kind of glitch or something. We're expecting this. For your
back to the folder, because this is important. Vanilla or manila?
I'm gonna call it manila.
Okay.
Manila folder.
So yeah, get yourself a manila folder, throw those papers in, and then, go reference them, get back to them, stuff like that. Another thing that's awesome right here is bringing another thing, what I used to do, having a folder and having printouts like this.
Yeah.
Right, so this is TA Targets printout. Having 20 of those in there never hurts because you can always go back to them. The other thing I wanted to mention, say you're doing that drill, said drill that you're running, what you can do is maybe I'm realizing like, oh my reloads are awful.
Yeah.
Right? So then the next thing you do the next range day, and you don't even have to do it on the range. You just maybe the next time you dry fire, you literally just work on your rifle reload.
Yep.
Break it down, right? Like if I had Jared here and he had massive biceps and massive traps, but his chest was like really sunken in, I would say like, hey, go work out your chest. Work your skills that are not as plentiful. Work what you're not good at. That's what you want to do. Do what you're not good at, because what's going to happen is it's going to step up your overall game. When I shoot with somebody that may be really good at standing still and shooting, but then we start shooting on the move and they cannot shoot on the move for anything, it really shows. But if you really just started shooting on the move, then your whole game looks so much better, and honestly, you're just going to get that much better at shooting.
Yeah, you're getting the rewards from being super well-rounded. And I'll give an example. So last night, or maybe it was 2 nights ago, I forget, Paul's watching me, and this is another thing, tracking performance. So Paul's watching me shoot my pistol. I was shooting my Glock 22, has a dot on it, shooting under, were we shooting under nods? I don't even remember. I think we were, but either way, pushing out, and this transition I was doing, it was between a vital zone target and then transitioning over to, I think, a C-zone or a mini ADAP, something like that. I was breaking the pistol back and turning and then pushing it back on target. There's a couple reasons why I was doing that, and mentally I wasn't really processing it, but having Paul beside me to say, hey, bro, instead of breaking the pistol back, it's a pretty short transition. Lead, eyes, follow gun, boom, shoot. It was much faster. I don't think we had a timer or anything, but
no, it's noticeably quicker.
Instead of breaking the pistol, just that one change. And so there's an aspect of this, if you can tap into people around you that might be a little bit further ahead, they might be able to also point out things.
And it doesn't
that you
even
can't
have to be
see.
that. It can just be exactly things you can't see.
Right, just stuff you can't see.
And that's what's kind of nice about going to the range with somebody and somebody like you're comfortable with. If Jared saw something that I'm doing and he said it to me, like, I'm not going to get offended. If I did the same, he's not going to get offended. Like, I'm not out here to be all you can be and be the number one. Like, that's what this all is about. What we're doing is growing together as shooters. So there's nothing wrong with going to the range with a buddy that's either better, not as good, just as good, and you guys working out, because you can always see things that, you can't, or he or she can always see things that you can't. And watch yourself on video. That really helps a lot.
Yeah, and that brings up one other thing here that I think is super important, because at first when I was training, I didn't use one. And then I purchased one and started using it. I don't know. I'm going to say it's probably sort of a requirement at some point, and that's a shot timer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always about me just burning it down. It's giving me a metric that I can track. So I personally think a shot timer is an important tool. They're around what do you think, 130 bucks
I think
for a
I'm gonna
pack
say,
timer?
yeah, $120, $130.
Something like that. But what I wanted to get your opinion on is shot timers in general. How important are they for people as we're looking at tracking progress? And then if there's any pros and cons of doing that.
Yeah, I would buy one when you could. If you've been training for a little bit now, you maybe gotten to, let's just say you recently started, you've shot about maybe 2,000 rounds on your own, I would say, instead of buying that next, little bit of training ammo, why don't you go ahead and buy the timer? Or, maybe your birthday's coming up and my grandmother still gets me a birthday present, so
maybe somebody will hook you up with some
maybe I
presents.
asked grandma for a shot timer, or your wife or your girlfriend, $130 down the drain. I think I bought mine on Amazon, and it was here like 2 days later, so stinking Amazon. But yeah, get one of those. I mean, they're really cool. Like you said, you can track your performance. You have a audible beep, something that's giving you a initial start time, which is nice. And overall, there's a ton of data once you actually figure out how to use these things that you can track and look at. And then once again, you can write your stuff down on your piece of paper and come back to it. Another thing that you can do is dry fire with them. Just overall get your reaction times down. And they're really cool for the draw and just overall performance shooting in general.
And one of the things that I like to do is use shot timers to actually break down certain aspects of a drill or something with the manipulation with the gun as well.
That gives me a good point I just thought of. So one of the things that kind of drives me nuts a little bit is, especially during a ammo crisis, as if we were call it, people are cheating themselves. And what I'm saying is they're cheating themselves, especially when they're going to be complaining about ammo, is let's say they're doing a one reload one.
Yeah.
Right? They draw, they fire their shot, they reload, they fire their shot, and they immediately just holster the gun. Why not get that second sight picture? Because you're still having a grip, you're still resetting the trigger.
Yep.
All right. Once again, though, say I do a 2-2-2, reload 2-2-2. What I'll do is with like my third magazine, I'll have it empty already, but I'm still getting another reload. So just because your mag goes empty, instead of being like, oh, the drill's done, I have an empty mag, get that third reload in after your shooting sequence, and then you're giving yourself another reload.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems important to me. It's something I've always done because I would account that out of all the extra reloads I've done when my gun's gone dry, instead of just sending the slide forward and holstering it, I probably have gotten in an extra 500 reloads over the past 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's also where having a buddy on the range can help you with tracking those kinds of things and being accountable to those kinds of things.
And it's hard. It's like one of those things that's really hard to get into, but you have to like really, really drill it in your head, especially with dry fire. I think because we get so used to just coming out and firing and then like holstering. So it's just one of those things. I am guilty of it. So I just one of those things that I think will really help you guys.
And there are training scars with everything. You can, especially if you're doing things either bad, poorly, or not to the potential, which we all fall into that. But using these tools and recognizing what these tools do for you, implementing them, and then being accountable with other people, analyzing how you're shooting, so that you're getting that feedback at the very least. And that was the last little point I was going to throw at the shot timer is back in the day with Instagram, and I'm not one to bash Instagram shooters. Technically, like I'm on Instagram shooting guns and stuff, but whatever. The whole sub-second draw and just try to get a round landed on some sort of USPSA target really fast. Is that the best use of the shot timer? Probably not. Maybe you need to look at shooters that are really, really good. Maybe some competitive shooters that are very highly skilled. Watch their videos and find out how they're using their shot timer. There's things that we can do with the internet and YouTube and videos online. You can find good sources, tap into them, and just use them and absorb. And then there's folks like us out here on the journey that maybe we are a little bit ahead of where you're currently at. Maybe you just picked up a gun. I know we respond to direct messages, we respond to comments and things like that. So you can definitely ask us questions and just make sure you're auditing your sources and they're people that you can trust. But I think that this topic's not super complex. It's just a matter of us figuring out the plan, coming up with the basic objectives, holding ourselves accountable, and then investing in the tools as we go along so that we can do that. But on that, do you have any final pieces of advice or anything in this topic for anybody else before we close this thing out?
No, I would give you maybe a little drill you can do by yourself next time you go to the range.
Perfect.
If you guys have maybe 15 yards available, put a USPSA target down at 15, 3 rounds and 3 mags. All right, draw, fire 3, 1, 2, 3, speed reload, 1, 2, 3. write that time down, go to the 10, and then go to the 5, do that same thing with all those times, do that as a cold start, and then next time you come to the range, do that cold start again. And, you know, maybe just write down what you did. You know, maybe you need to grip the gun a little harder, trigger press, make sure I'm pulling straight to the rear, inside of the elbow. That's really it. So
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on the channel, man.
Yeah, man. And Paul's I would say one of my best friends in the industry. Solid dude. So please, if you're watching this video, check out his pages. And then if you're interested in training, I know ammo's tight, and I know that it's a crazy scenario world, whatever you want to call it this year, but check out his website, Black Iron Performance, and if there's a class available or something, consider taking it from Paul, because he's humble dude, solid shooter, good person who cares about other people, invests in them and their skill set, and you will not go wrong reaching out to this dude. So guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for watching this episode. Catch you on the next one.